Now that a new journey is finished, I can carry over to the Grand Battle, which has even more fights that are said to be pretty difficult. If you'd like to see an oil can challenge of that,
leave a comment and let me know.
well, you guys left comments, and were sure to let me know. Your voices were heard loud and clear. The people want oil. After completing Custom Robo's main story only using oil can parts, which if you haven't seen that yet, now's the time to do so, I unlocked the Grand Battle post-game. At the time, I thought it'd just be a second story mode, but with more fights and added difficulty. I've since come to find out that is not the case at all. The Grand Battle is a series of tournaments in every area that you've explored in the overworld, each with their own set of rules. Some of these tournaments only let you use one part per battle, with legs excluded since there aren't a lot of options to choose from. That rule alone makes it impossible for an oil can part only challenge to happen. Or does it? Well, actually, yeah, it does. And while that's disappointing to hear, there is something I can do to sort of bypass that rule. With the power of I can battle with my oil can parts, reload a save to battle again using other parts so the oil is still legitimate, then rinse and repeat the process until all the battles in the tournament have been completed with America's Sweetheart. That covers the one part per battle rule, but there is something else I need to be mindful of. After each battle, you're awarded points based on your performance. When the tournament is completed, all of the points are totaled up, and you can receive a bronze, silver, or gold trophy depending on how many points you got. You need to get all gold trophies in every tournament to access the 3 final tournaments at the end of the Grand Battle, so of course I'm going to be going for gold. But getting gold trophies isn't the easiest task due to one thing. When you lose a battle in a tournament, you get to retry, but your points for the battle are penalized significantly. That creates a problem because the oil can Robo isn't exactly one to win on the first try most of the time. Even if I did win on the first try, the points received for remaining health and time are very important when it comes to the final point count. So due to the fact that this challenge run is already demanding some exceptions with the one part rule, I decided to allow retries using to save myself the trouble of having to start a tournament from the very beginning over and over again if I lose. Now that everything's put in place, let's see if you can beat Custom Robo's Grand Battle only using oil can parts. Before we begin, I want to address some things from my previous video. The first being that Marcia is actually called Marcia. Excuse me for that one. I saw one video calling her Marcia and the other calling her Marcia, so I just picked one. There wasn't much other than that. I also made a joke about her looking like Hatsune Miku, but Marcia actually predates Miku by 3 years. God, I'm old. The second was my confusion by the name Scrub. I used a previous save to keep myself from being spoiled on the story and battles for a fresh oil can experience. Allegedly, the name Scrub is a little jab at the player for using a save file instead of playing through the game on their own, which is hilarious. The last thing is some of the unique dialogue I missed in the game. Apparently, in certain parts of the story, if you just keep making wrong dialogue choices, it'll cause different events to happen. Sad I missed them, cause I love me some silly non-canon moments. We step into the Grand Battle at our neighbor's house. This tournament has no limits, so the oil can run freely without restrictions. I did opt to skip the dialogue, but that's because I had completed this tournament earlier. At that time, I didn't realize that there were trophies to get. Our first match is against Lucy the Landlord. She gives us the scoop that the custom Robos are more regulated now, and bought one herself since they're so cheap. Oh yeah, so there was a whole prologue before this began that I couldn't access. Basically, everyone knows about Rahu now, and these tournaments take place on World Remembrance Day to celebrate our triumph. We're also told by Meera that the license class has changed, and we plummeted back down to D class from S. What a nice thank you for saving mankind. Anyways, back to the tournament. For a beginner, Lucy put up quite a fight, but in the end, she still became another number against my oil. Wendy shows up next, saying that she trained herself and that there's no way she'd lose. Sure, kid, whatever you say. Will steps in and says he's gonna avenge his little sister. I hadn't forgot about how he made a fool out of me in a new journey, so I knew that I had to teach him a little lesson about respect. Multiple lessons, in fact, because Will kept getting my health down so low that I couldn't justify keeping any win I took off him due to the small amount of points I'd receive. Will took quite a few beatings before he finally coughed up enough points I was happy with. And then it was on to Walt, sporting a confident new hairdo. He's so stoked on the fro that he forgot we're in the middle of a tournament. So I jogged his memory by giving him the beatdown of a lifetime. I said I jogged his memory by giving him the beatdown of a lifetime? What the heck is going on here? Walt's newfound confidence made him a pain to get through. His Robo is extra floaty and nimble, which makes it way too easy to avoid my attacks. I wasn't really losing to Walt, save safe for one time, but it was hard trying to land hits on him. This caused wins due to timeouts, but that meant my time and defeated Robo bonuses were stripped away, which was not an option. I would get a win off Waltz, with my health and time bonuses being fairly low, but it was the first time I had managed to defeat his Robo before the time ran out, and I was tired of fighting his stupidly nimble Robo for the past 10 minutes. That may not seem like a lot of time, but before restarting this playthrough, I spent over 30 minutes just trying to defeat him in any way. No shot, dude. You gotta be kidding me right at the end! So I made a safety save in case I needed to fight him again, and moved on to the final battle with Woman, now known as Carmen. Carmen had a huge epiphany after learning the truth about Rahu and the flat earth. This stopped her from buying herself material things, and let her husband have his sick new hair, which she instantly regrets and is going to take her anger out on me. Defeating Carmen was effortless, though I had an issue. Although my fights were quick, the points I received were just barely not enough to get the gold trophy. I needed 150k points or more, and the lowest performing fight I had in this tournament was against Walt, which means I needed to go back and improve my score against him. Walt's Robo felt like it was an all-around counter to my trusty oil barrels. He wasn't as fast as Rahu by a long shot, but avoided my attacks so easily, and his hits were nothing to sneeze at either. Like, this one single attack did nearly 140 damage to me. After taking that hit, I restarted the battle and caught Walt lacking. I think the game finally threw me a bone after watching me lose to a middle-aged man wearing a purple afro wig one too many times. I more than doubled the amount of points I originally won against him, and after one rematch with Carmen, I walked away with 160,000 points and my first gold trophy. Just 21 more to go. Oh yeah, this is a long one, so if some of these tournaments end up being easy peasy, I'll cut them short to keep from making this video too lengthy. Apologies in advance if I end up skipping some of the silly dialogue. We'll be here forever otherwise. The battles continue with the Steel Hearts Cup, where the first single parts use only rule is put into place. First up is Boy, who was just picked up off the street to act as filler for this cup. I beat him easily for a score of 29k points, but thought I could do better, so I roughed him up a second time and walked away with slightly more lunch money. Harry is up next, and he couldn't help but explain the single-use battle rules as though our boss didn't just lay them out for me a few minutes ago. For a guy who played a big role in helping me save the flat earth, he didn't put up much of a fight. I thought I was about to get a perfect out of him for a moment. I ended up scoring 41k points, which left me with a lot of wiggle room for bad battles, since I needed 160,000 for gold. Girl steps forward after Harry, saying he invited her, and that our base is a bottom feeder office. A lot of smack talk for someone with the first name Girl. She's got one of those quick robos that go down just as easily as I do, and managed to outrun my bum oil legs in our first match. But she tired herself out in the second, which led to her oil-drenched defeat. Marcia is our fourth battle, and she came prepared packing bees. The bees are not to be messed with. If they get a hint of oil about, they'll lock on for a nasty combo. If Marcia's Robo didn't get knocked down easily, this would have been a rough one. Last up is good old Mr. Boss Ernest. He put up the hardest fight out of everyone, even though he let me get too many easy hits in by standing in one spot. He got my health down really low, but in the end, he blew himself up. Throughout the 5 fights, my points totaled up to 162,120, which was just a little more than what I needed for my next gold trophy. From the Steel Hearts, it's on to Diamond for another one-part battle rule tournament. I proceeded to mop the floor with everyone, not needing more than one retry in the first fight against a random NPC. Anthony and Thomas were there too, but the bros stood no chance. The gold requirement here is 170k, and I ended with 195,790 points. I took my food to go and headed towards the police HQ, where I participated in my first 2v2 tournament against members of the police squad. I wonder who my partner's gonna be. Hot babes and even hotter oil working side by side. The points you get in a 2v2 change up slightly. You're given more time in the battle, and you and your partner's remaining health are pooled together for the end bonus. Also, since there's 2 Robos in the fight now, you get a guaranteed 20,000 points if you defeat them both. Linda and I took down the police force faster than they could get through a box of donuts. Since the battles deal out more points, I needed 260k this time for gold. By the end of the last battle against Meera and the Chief, we won with 281,780 points. A little surprising given they had Sergey, Roy, Meera, and the Chief to fight against. I didn't think this would be so easy, but I guess I have Linda to thank for that. Things get more interesting in the next tournament. I have to battle against AI-generated tyranny, but I have no limits, which is too bad for John ChatGPT. In my first match, I was swiftly struck with the gun of pain and amplified noise. Oh, God. That's a hurts, don't it? I couldn't get close to this Robo at all, and it dodged all of my attacks. So I reset and went at this with a different approach and tried not to air dash as much, which would have left me more vulnerable. I did better, but even if I won, I would have been as hungry for points as Oliver Twist was for gruel. On my third attempt, I combined my no air dashing plan and mixed it with hiding around the terrain. You know, like you're probably supposed to do. I ended up winning with a fair amount of health and time left, giving me a respectable 30k points. After losing, the AI changes its tone into a Disney Channel bully. The big fat meanie is still using the buggy body, and it's hard to knock down, but its attacks hurt far less, as long as they don't knock you into the magma. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it! I was doing so well. Damn it! This battle only took a few tries to get my health and time right, and I happily accepted a win with 37k points. The bully changes into a lovely dame, and switches their Robo body out for the small yet quick peregrine. Again, this battle only took a few tries. They weren't hard, but I had to make sure that my points were in line with what I needed. I got 33k on my third try, which was good enough. Now the computer uses its simulation technology to bring out Melvin, a once legendary Robo commander, who's also the brother of the Joker. For actual context, he's one of the main characters that appear in Custom Robo V2, which was a Japanese exclusive. He calls his Robo the Prince of the Holosseum. That title alone warrants an oil can-sized defeat, which I happily gave him in one of the easiest fights this tournament. Melvin switches out to Max Keeble and tried making a big move by taking down the new Prince of the Holosseum, which he got close to doing a few times since his metal bear body is a big sturdy boy. Curse these tanky Robos. I reluctantly took a win off of Max, only getting 29k points. That's a fair amount, but I needed roughly 32,600 points per battle to get gold. With one more fight left, I made a safety save and decided to see if I can make up some extra points in the final bout. Max swaps out to Marv. Yeah, remember? From earlier in the main story mode. He comes off very cocky and says something strange before we fight. Who the f does he think he's talking to? At first glance, Marv's Robo doesn't seem like it'll do much. His attacks are huge in size, but are slow and easy to dodge, at least from a distance. It's a shame that I have to stick close to land any hits that can do damage, because that makes me a sitting duck for Marv's onslaught of attacks. In the 20 or so minutes I spent getting obliterated by his proton cannon, I pulled off a few wins, but the points I got weren't even close to enough to get the gold trophy. So that left me with two options. I could continue getting the crap beat out of me by this guy in hopes for a better win, or I could go to my safety save and get more points in the Max fight that'll make up for any I lose facing Marv. I chose the latter because Max was at least easier to land hits on without being blown to smithereens. After 3 more fights with Max, I turned my 29k points into a whopping 33. In my first and only rematch with Marv, I pulled a crazy win out of my ass and scored 30k points, which gave me just enough to reach the 196k threshold for another gold trophy. I said my goodbyes to AI Marv and made my way to the training gym for a tag battle tournament. Marsha gives me the rundown, saying it's a 2v2 battle with any 2 Robos I pick against my opponents. You can swap Robos mid-battle, and you'll win or lose if one of yours or your opponent's Robos are knocked out. You can imagine my excitement when I learned that I could have an oil can Robo and a piss can Robo fighting together side by side. My first fight against Boy was more or less the crash course into tag battles. Like a regular 2v2, your health point bonus is calculated by the total amount of health your Robos have. So in my case, it was best to use one Robo until their health was nearly gone before swapping out to the other. It didn't make much of a difference for me, but if your Robo reaches below 150 health and is swapped out, it'll heal to a max of 150 while the other one fights. So I fought Boy a few times to get used to this new type of battle, and after I was satisfied, I barreled through the rest of the tournament with oil and piss aplenty, ending it with nearly 300,000 points, which was more than enough needed to get the next trophy. From the training gym, it's back to the lab again, where there's 3 tournaments that take place. The first one is the lab single battle with no limit rules. I fought a Z Syndicate grunt first, and learned that since they were evil, their memories were erased, so they have no recollection of their crimes. I don't know how I feel about that. This tournament was another easy one. You'd think some kind of BP oil spill happened in the lab with how quickly these guys fell one by one. I did feel bad for one of the officers though. His girlfriend dumped him because he had to miss their date due to the burglars burgling. Really makes you wonder if memory wiping was a good move. Oh well, 198k points means more gold for me. Next door is the lab handicap battle. Wonder what that means. I figured you've had enough of normal battles. No, I haven't! The lab handicap battle. You have to fight 2 other Oh, that's not good. What did Big Oil do to deserve this? Well, actually, it wasn't as bad as it sounded. Yeah, facing off in a 1v2 was annoying on paper, but the battles were somehow not hard at all. You can just focus on one Robo and dodge the other's attacks. And it's not like the Robos you're facing against have half a brain anyway. I had an easy go of it until I reached the final battle with Linda and Sherry. Their heads were way more screwed on than my other opponents, and their teamwork was what I expected this tournament to be like. Holy shit, I'm getting up. Sherry hit the hardest and was tougher to take down, so I put my focus on her. As long as I kept our fight away from Linda, then she wouldn't unleash the bees. After taking down Sherry, I had less than 200 health to fight against a near full health Linda. Somehow, some way, nearing the bottom of my oil barrel, I won, but my health was so low. Would it even be enough to win big money? No, my God, we just barely made it. Thank you. Thank you, God. Oh, heavens to Betsy. Well, you heard me. I barely made it through with 410 extra points to spare. A little further down the hall, we have the lab's third and final tournament, the lab bonus battle, run by none other than Evil, who's also had his memory erased. In a nice turn of events, this is actually a 2v1, with me and Evil versus whomever he has to be a part of the tournament. As you could imagine, with such a large advantage, I was handed the gold trophy before the tournament even started. Leaving the lab, I made my way to the park for the next tournament with Harry's harem, a bevy of beautiful babes as he calls it. It's a no-limit battle, except everyone I face will be fighting me using Gatling guns. Interesting. The first match is against Mary, and we almost get out of this tournament and score a date, if it wasn't for a Harry blocking my game. Mary tells me to take it easy on her, and then turns into Launch from Dragon Ball and unleashes hell on me. Ah! Oh, it hurts so bad! This is so bad! Sucks. Oh my God. Harry picked possibly the worst weapon for these ladies to use against me. The tilt was real in this fight, and I'd again have to learn to adapt and utilize my surroundings. Mary's Robo is weak, as are the Gatling shots. As long as I didn't air dash or shoot and miss, I could dodge the attacks. I shot bombs frequently and let Mary attack first before making my move. It didn't come easy, but I eventually left with a win and 29k points. This tournament required another average of 32k points per battle for gold, but I was willing to move on ahead and take my chances since this was only the first one. Sherry is up next, using the same Robo I just had trouble against, now equipped with the same heat that I was struggling with right now. Mary's Robo was weaker and easy to knock down, but Sherry's was not in the slightest. It took me nearly 20 minutes in this one fight to get a score I was happy with, and it also made up for the low score I had against Mary. But good heavens, this was not a fun grind. The rest of the Gatling gun packing mamas decided to have mercy on me, and I beat them all in my first try. Then in a twist, I had one more battle against the hottest babe of them all. Landlord Lucy. It's only right that she be included too. Lucy's fight was quick and she took her defeat with grace. If it were up to me, I would have given her my gold trophy just for being so smoking hot. Now with the ladies away, the boys will play in a 2v2 tournament at Bogies, with my surprise guest and partner, Ernest the Boss. Together, we turned everyone at Bogies into double bogeys, scoring under par and taking home the gold. From Bogies, I hit up the test hall for the flying CPU battle. It's got 1 part per battle rules, and all the CPUs will be using Lightning Sky or Funky Big Head type Robos, which have good aerial capabilities. Walt is here too, and he shows off his new hairdo inspired by the one and only Harry. This tournament didn't give me too much trouble. Actually, I think I had a harder time using the good Robos I made in my off battles to move the oil can parts along. Dude, the oil did better than this. The oil did better than this! These are supposed to be easy peasy fights, what's happening? I guess every Robo has its commander, and mine is oil. I totaled out my points from the 6 battles to 212,890, surpassing the 190k minimum. After the CPU battle, Meera invited me over for a party, which is actually another tournament, who could have guessed. 1 part rules are in effect, and everyone is going to be using Robos designed for long distance attacks. For the first match, we're introduced to a new character, a female police officer named Hiroko. She hasn't been around since she teaches kids how to use Robos when they're ready. Now that's taxpayer money well spent. Hiroko has one of them small Robos that's quick on its feet and in the air. She didn't hit very hard, but her flying around everywhere made it hard to end things quickly. After 3 fights, I got her patterns down and scored 33k points. Next, we have the ever so memorable Jerry. You know, the guy who won the singles tournament in the police double battle I did earlier. Oh yeah, I skipped that dialogue. Jerry wasn't all talk. He won that tournament for a reason. His Robos got instant transmission and a vertical gun that'll put you down fast. Though, I mean, every gun does that against me. Jerry seriously has some ultra instinct going on here. Look at how he dodged my charge. There's definitely some shenanigans going on here. Despite Jerry's clear skill, I got what was likely a pity win off of him for 28k points. Not the best, but I don't want to keep trying his patience. I got a little bit of a break fighting Marcia next, with 33k points off our second fight, but I wasn't super satisfied with that. This led to a few more fights, and I boosted my score a little bit to 35k. Roy was up after Marcia, and his fight was the easiest out of the last 3. That was until I fought Harry afterwards. He took less than 30 seconds to KO. That boosted my score like crazy. Meera was last, and kept the family tradition running of losing against me on the first try, though to her credit, it was a much better battle than against Harry. My total came to 216,190 points. When the tournament ended, we had a real party, and afterward, I headed back home to catch up on some rest, only to find a bunch of random people in my humble home. The squatters here are Holosseum creators, and they asked me if I would test out their creations, which I happily obliged. I won the tournament, but had an even better time fighting in new Holosseums I hadn't seen until now. There's a tiny one where the platform breaks apart, a few with moving platforms on the ground and in the air, and my personal favorite, the gigantic one specifically made for evil. You know, these squatters are all right. That covers every tournament on the flat earth, so it's time to venture into the shattered remains of what used to be home for the remainder of the battles. The beginning of the end starts at the Z Syndicate hideout, and wait a second, Oboro is alive? I guess I missed that part because I swore Rahu sucked the life out of him. I headed over to Eliza's room for the first tournament, and just like the other evildoers, we learned that all their memories have been erased, but now they believe they're actors, playing the roles of their original selves for the sake of the grand battle. Well, I guess that's one way to make sure they're all still in character. Eliza's room tournament was just like the one I did with Evil, a 2v1 against some Z Syndicate lackeys. Oh, those poor guys and gals. 328k points later, and a few mean comments from one of the members. Gold was mine, and I carried on to train with Shiner. This tournament has single battle rules, and the opponents are, well, the scantily clad Z lackeys weren't particularly tough. I mean, I took a few tries on each one of them, but it wasn't anything I couldn't handle. The cool parts about this tournament were the use of the new Holosseums that were shown back in my apartment, and some of the lines the lackeys used after their defeat. Shiner was the final battle of the tournament, and he went down after only one try. Must have been the clothes holding him back. Throughout the 6 battles, I scored 179,460 points, passing the 170k threshold for gold. Next stop is Isabella's mansion. She gives us the same "I'm just an actor playing the villain" spiel, and tells us this is another tag battle tournament. Haven't had one of those in a while. Fun fact, you can enter this tank through a secret passageway to get the Rahu 1 parts. I opted to go with the fruit punch can Robo as my partner this time, and together, we were getting schooled pretty hard by the first Z lackey. One of the Robos they use is the metal ox, and that guy is way too beefy. In the first battle, the timer ran too low, as did my health, and in the second, I was getting the hang of how these Robos fight, and score a lucky moment where the ox hit magma, lowering its health to 16. One more hit would have finished it, but all of my attacks missed. The ox was swapped back in shortly after, and I won with more points than I expected, but I was shy of 6,000 points to meet the average I needed. While this was low, I more than made up for it in the second battle, scoring 60k points in a complete stomp. Then in the third battle, I got 66,000 points, followed by 41 in the fourth battle and a lower 29 in the fifth against Evil, which I guess you could consider was the biggest win he had against me. My points totaled to 239,080, which meant that in the final battle against Isabella, I needed 39,000 or better for gold. She was the toughest one out of the bunch. On my first fight against her, I almost lost my first oil can Robo within 30 seconds. The dragon and flare guns her Robos use are powerful, and the constant changing of the Holosseum's platforms didn't always provide the best support when trying to dodge attacks. One of her Robos uses the ground freeze pod, which made for some harsh combos against me. The only way I landed any good hits was by waiting for her to use her main gun, and then try to catch her with a 3 oil can special while she was on cooldown. This was pretty effective, as long as I didn't hit any of her pods or bombs. 10 minutes later, and I finished our battle with 47k points, and a little over 280k overall. Playing with Oboro, which is a weird title for a tournament, was an easy single-part rule battle against him and his subordinates. It's kind of funny it ended up being that way, because everyone I fought against had at least one illegal part on their Robo. You just can't cheat against Big Oil, lest you want to face the wrath of Vegeta's technique. I've been summing up scores for the most part, but actually won this tournament with 1,000 points even. All that stood in my way was Z's boss room and the final 3 tournaments for trophy havers such as myself. All of the Z Syndicate bosses are here, each one of them packing illegal parts with no limit battle rules. To make up for this injustice, the points I needed were lowered to 151,000 across 6 battles. My biggest hurdle to jump over was against Isabella, where she picked up a certain technique. Oh no! Vegeta's technique! Aside from Isabella, the bosses were fairly tame. After defeating Sergei, who was the 5th and seemingly final battle, he tells me that the true final boss is a computerized version of the Z Syndicate's previous leader. Dad? Dude, I'd be uncomfortable with this. Father uses the Ray Legend, which is a robo that comes from the first 2 games. The Ray Legend gets knocked down fairly quickly, but also has an insanely low downtime before being rebirthed. I came close to winning on my first try, but he was just too fast and hit too hard. His overbearing skill would lead to his downfall. On my second attempt, we were trading hits back and forth. I got him down to 139 health, when one of his own pods crept up and exploded beside him. That's what he gets for making me wear this stinky watch for my whole life and forcing me to become a commander. He always knew I wanted to dance, but would never allow it. I ended the tournament with 172k points, and technically only unlocked the bronze handicap match since there's trophies there too. The bronze handicap match is a 1v2 battle in the men's room. Now things are starting to heat up. The first match is against Bogey and Lloyd. I made them eat urinal cakes for 2 battles until I was satisfied getting 42k points. Sophie and Trish come out of the stall next, and I escorted them out of the latrines with an oil barrel assault. Lucy and Carmen followed after, and what is it with these lovely ladies engaging in a custom robo battle with me in the men's room? In a fresh playthrough, if you talk to Lucy enough times before the battle begins, she'll give you the Rahu 2 parts. I barely survived Lucy and Carmen's tag team, hanging on by a loose thread that could have been snapped by the slightest sneeze. 2 Z Syndicate grunts are next, one fully clothed and the other more appropriately clothed for one of those life-changing number 2 moments. If you know, you know. I got comboed into the high heavens by these 2. What do they have against a little oil barrel boy? 10 minutes of feeling like a lamb to the slaughter, I got a win with 38k points. Eliza and Isabella show up, and I cleared their clocks on my first try. Funny how it seems that a lot of my struggles so far came with facing the nobody characters, instead of the main antagonists. Speaking of antagonists, the final battle is against Shiner and Obero. They're another dream team with a better sense of focus on me. Shiner was the easier of the 2 to knock down, so I went for him first. But his constant flying around while trying to avoid Obero's attacks made for a miserable experience. So I switched it up and went for Obero first instead. With him out of the picture, it made Shiner a much easier target. That concluded the bronze handicap tournament with the score of 234,640 points. Before I took on the silver battle royale, the police officer Big Fat Polly says that as long as I got all the trophies in the other tournaments, outside the specific bronze, silver, and gold ones, then my score doesn't matter and I can still participate in them. Well, that's cool, I guess, but where's the fun in that? I'm still going for gold all the way. The silver battle royale is a 4 robo battle free-for-all. That doesn't sound too bad, and it wasn't at all. I came into this tournament a little nervous, because I believed that I wouldn't be awarded any points if I didn't defeat the robos themselves. So in the first battle, I tried to get the last hit on the other robos for extra points. But as long as you're the last robo standing, you rake in all the credit. So I could just sit back, relax, and let everyone else do most of the heavy lifting. Gold was more or less earned with 260,750 points, and I got to peep Walt's new hair. Finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, the gold single battle. Naturally, single-use battle rules are in place. Not that that matters or has ever mattered this whole challenge. But now for this tournament, there's 8 battles in a row. I guess it only makes sense to go out with a bang. Linda shows up as the first opponent, and she says that a small patch of Rahu's power was found in its room. If you leave your Robo's cube there for a long period of time, it'll grow in strength. And what better way to test that strength than against the strongest Robo that this flat Earth ever did see? Linda was definitely a bit tougher to take down this time around, especially now that her Robo was juiced up on Rahu roids. I lost to her the first time, and beat her on my next 2 tries after that, with the 3rd try earning me a healthy score. Linda congratulates me and swaps out for the police chief, who lays down some harsh truths like, I'm the only one who got gold in every tournament, and only my license was dropped down to D, so I'd have to build myself up again to prove my skills. What an absolute scoundrel. The chief paid dearly for deceiving me. With a quick quick 2-try special and 33k points. I will give him credit though, he didn't say he souped up his Robo with Rahu's powers, and took me on as he was without any enhancements. Kudos to you, Chief. Sergey is the third fight, and we get right back to Rahu boosting with him. He also has an illegal Robo. What more power do you need? Sergey's Robo is disgusting. He's flying around all over the place, dropping pods, shooting eagles in the air that'll lock onto me. All the while, I'm expected to try and catch up with him with these bum legs that hinder my whole setup. Like with many other Robo battles in this challenge run, I got Sergey's patterns down more and more as I fought him, but his constant flying around mixed with his tanky Robo made it so hard to ever knock him down consistently. I got 2 wins off him, one for 17k points and another for 21. On my third win, I got lucky and cornered him a few times, and when his health was low enough, I showed him the ultimate disrespect. Get him! Get him, put him down! Roy came up next, and yes, he powered up his Robo too. He gave that bad boy a Magnum, which is great for short range, and bad for me. I mean, as long as you keep your distance, Roy isn't all that hard. But I admit that I lost every single battle against him before I figured that out. No low point wins, timeouts, just straight up iced each time. When I won, it was in the most ridiculous way. 1 health. There we go. Roy licked his wounds and tagged Meera in. Unfortunately for her, she didn't leave her cube under Rahu's power for nearly enough time as the rest of them. I snagged 2 easy wins and rested an extra 41,000 points snugly in my pocket. Bossman Ernest was up now, and he gave me the news that he's an S-Class commander now too. Yeah, if the S stands for sucking, he and Meera both needed to spend more time microwaving their Robos. Marsha appears for the 7th battle, and she starts by dapping me up a bit, clearly trying to hold back her true feelings. Maybe if she confessed before the fight, the beatdown for her would have been less severe. She starts crying and basically says that she loves me and that I've been so distant and unavailable lately. Like, bro, we saved the world and took a vacation after almost dying. Give me some space. Harry interrupts the touching moment that my commentary ruined, and of course he's the last commander to fight. Our journey began with Harry, and it'll end with him too. Unsurprisingly, he ended up being the easiest battle out of them all. I was kind of expecting him to have some kind of crazy grand finale battle, but nope, it was right on brand. Harry's fall gave me a final score of 254,200, exceeding the 248,000 needed for the last gold trophy. Before it's all over with, we get an unexpected visit from Walt, showing off his sick new hairdo for the last time. Oh, classic Walt. Now that the final end screen is here and all the tournaments have been completed with gold trophies, I proved that you can technically beat Custom Robo's Grand Battle only using oil can parts. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll admit that the Grand Battle wasn't as hard as I expected, but it was sure lengthy, especially when it came to resetting in the 1-part only battle so I could make sure that the oil cans were good to go. I know that because of the 1-part rule, this challenge run could truly never happen, but I hope you enjoyed this hypothetical scenario of every tournament being bested by one of the worst Robos the game has to offer. I'm not sure when it'll happen, but you can bet that there will be more custom Robo adventures in my future. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Also, I stream all of my challenge runs live on my Twitch channel and here on YouTube. If you'd like to check that out, be sure to subscribe or follow me on Twitch. The link to my Twitch channel, along with links to my other social media accounts, can be found in the description. If there's a challenge run you'd like to see, you can also check out the description for a direct link where you can submit your ideas. Thanks again for watching, everyone. See you in the next video. I hope you have fun with it for years to come. We're making custom Robo content in 2025, so still having fun.